G'day and welcome to Kenty Blitz, your daily hit of NRL news. Kenty, Origin Eve, we're ready to go.
Just hope the players are ready to go too. So I'm fired up, but it's not important if I'm fired up. It's important if they are.
Mate, what does Origin decide to mean for you tonight? What do you do?
Mate, I just sit with a couple of mates and watch it. Yeah,
Yep.
Look. Origin's probably the one game where I let my loyalties come out. I just cannot help but cheer for New South Wales. As much as I try to have an objective view to the game and the rest of it, I certainly sit there and watch it through blue eyes. So, we'll wait and see.
As a young kid, did you used to watch it with all your mates and that was all you talked about at school,
mate,
right?
I can remember going to school on the Central Coast. We got to Wednesday and after the fourth period, we all said, you know what, let's go. And we got the train down and watched the game.
Oh, wow.
Just took off from school. So, it was one of the 85 and 84 we did it. So,
wow.
Great years. So, really good experience, actually.
Very good.
Got the train down, train home. It was
that's
wild.
awesome. I can imagine. Mate, as we head into Origin tonight, very different positions for both coaches who've gambled in some unorthodox selections.
Yeah, look, they've both got a little bit on the line, haven't they, these coaches? There's got to be different repercussions depending on what's happened. Now Laurie Daly, and I find a real irony in this, was Laurie Daly, in his first instalment as NRL, as a New South Wales coach, if he made a mistake, it was because he trusted too much in players, and there's bad behaviour that went on. There was a couple of blokes who didn't quite buy into what he was trying to do there, but Laurie stuck with them.
Famous Kingscliff beers, wasn't it?
The beers at the Kingscliff, the pub there. This time he's done it again, Laurie. Different reasons, different circumstances. But he has put a lot of trust in this preparation in injured players. And it's been a real conversation piece. Now, look, again, I don't want to go back to game one. We spoke about how boring the build-up is. This one's been an unusual one, but it hasn't been particularly there's no fires have been lit, certainly around this Origin campaign. But Laurie's had Payne Haas, who hasn't trained at all, and then they've got Brian Tyler, who hasn't trained. Nathan Cleary's had a very limited preparation. Jerome Luai's had a very limited preparation. Hudson Young has had a limited preparation. Most times when they've switched to vision of the training sessions there, those players have been sitting on the sideline or just doing little extras off to the side, but not taking part in the full session.
Do you think that's disruptive?
Yeah, look. The way it's going to be argued is simply, it's going to be argued very differently according to whatever happens tonight.
Yeah, okay.
That's my point. If New South Wales win, then it's going to be a masterstroke from Laurie. If New South Wales lose, then certainly the storyline that will come out of it was, did they go into the game with too many injured players?
Yeah, okay.
And did it affect their preparation? Now, part of that is helped by the fact that he's picked the same squad that played in game two. There's not a lot of disruption. There's no disruption as far as positional players coming into the team. So they don't really have to get to know each other, or they don't have many things to work on that they haven't already done. So that's going to benefit New South Wales. But you also got to argue they are not an NRL team. They are not there week after week after week. It's a limited preparation. It's not a lot. You only get about 4 ball sessions in per training camp anyway, which is not a lot. Now, if you take that into account and you say, okay, well, for the 4 ball sessions for this training camp, they haven't had the full squad on the field. We'll have to wait and see tonight what impact that has. And like I said, that's the gamble Laurie has gone with. He's had so many injured players. Firstly, they've got to get through the game without appearing to be injured or being limited by their injury. But then second, even if they're playing at themselves full strength, does that mean the team's playing full strength? Now, if they lose, then it'll come back. You know what? They gambled and they lost. They lost the gamble. They shouldn't have gone in with so many injured players. They needed more players on the paddock to get through the training. If they get through and they win the game, well, then it was a master stroke, because the whole narrative from the New South Wales camp is about how much they trust the players. They're elite players. You trust yourself to know that they're going to be ready. I think the players will be ready, but does the team get impacted by the fact that they haven't trained together? So it has been a gamble by Laurie, and I don't think New South Wales are sitting quite as pretty now heading into this game as they did heading into either game 1 or game 2, to be fair. So
I guess the thing about New South Wales is they do have that Penrith connection in the spine, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that'll make a difference.
Oh, look, there's no doubt the combinations are there. There's no doubt that the players have performed well together. Let's remember they were well behind in game 2, came back and almost stole the game.
Yep.
They won 18-6 in the first game, so they won well there. So they are capable of playing well together and doing the job. And like I said, individually, Nathan Cleary, I think he'll get through the game. Payne Haas, I think he'll get through the game. Yeah, Hudson Young, he'll get through. Tyler, they'll all get through. But the only thing is, if they get beat and they don't, they're not getting through their sets, or which is a big reason they could get beat. They're not getting through their sets. They're not getting to the kicks. That they're a little bit disjointed in attack. It'll come down to the fact, well, hang on, well, you hardly train together before the game. So that's a gamble from Laurie Daly. Billy Slater's had his own gambles. He's gone a different way. Other than obviously the Cameron Munster. Sad news. He's had his squad there and available to train. But what he has done is he's gambled on selections. Okay, so
particularly in the centres, right?
Well, look, he's got Toya was a rookie before game 1. He's now going into his 3rd Origin game, and then you've got obviously Shibasaki's coming in for his debut Origin game. So it's a really real raw rookie centre pairing, and they're coming up against 2 high quality dominant centres in the game. Crichton and Latrell Mitchell.
Yeah.
Okay, so they've really got the job ahead of them. Now, obviously in club football defensively, they've been able to handle those guys. They've been there and done that. But it is a gamble to have such a rookie centre pairing. He's also gambled. He had the option of going Reece Walsh at fullback. Instead, he went Toby Waifado. And he's gone down that road. And it surprised some people. But again, Billy, he saw what he saw. Now, part of the backstory, we believe, is that there wasn't a complete faith that Reece Walsh would be injury-free. I think there was also a desire from Billy to pick a side that was ready to train immediately, as opposed to what Laurie's done, where he leave the injured guys on the sideline. So he's taken a risk in some of his selections, and then obviously the big one, he's brought Josh Papali'i back from rep retirement. Now, look, after game 1, there's a lot of speculation that Papali'i was the kind of guy that was missing from that Queensland team. But it appeared in game 2 they fixed that. They were no longer getting bashed around by the New South Wales middles, and they handled themselves really well through the middle of the field. So the Papali'i one was a little bit of a shock in that regard, that they essentially did the right job in game 2. Billy didn't stick with that team. Instead, he tried to improve upon it, which is what the Papali'i inclusion is about. So that's another gamble. And for Josh's sake and for his legacy and for the fact that this Origin, this will be part of the Origin folklore pushing ahead.
Absolutely.
Let's hope he has a big game. Okay, so he doesn't deserve to go out with a poor performance against his name, given what he's already done. And we've seen that. Rugby league's built on the legend of Changa Langlands playing the 75 grand final, which was one of his last games that he ever played.
The famous white boots incident.
And the white boots, and just the worst game he ever played. And it took. Well, I'll be fair. I don't think he ever lived that down. To be fair. So there's a lot on the line for both coaches, and whoever the losing coach out of tonight is, certainly there will be a lot of attention thrown.
Well, let's talk
to
about
the
that.
gambles they took.
Let's talk about that. Is their head on the line?
Laurie, I don't think his head will be on the line,
Okay.
although there'll be a lot of questions asked. Billy, I don't think the Queensland Rugby League will turn on Billy. The interesting thing, though, is that no Queensland coach has ever survived 2 series losses in a row. So this is, if Billy loses tonight, it will be 2 in a row that he's lost, after starting so promisingly. But, and again, like I said, in past years, the Queensland Rugby League have got rid of the coach after that. I don't think that'll happen. I also think part of the reason for that is there's just not a lot of alternatives. We keep going down this celebrity coaching route of ex-players brought in to coach the team. Yeah. But there's not a lot of guys who you would immediately say. Obviously, Cameron Smith could do it. Kevin Walters is available now. There are some options, but there's not like there's a standout there ready to go with it. So I think Billy would survive even if he loses tonight, but we'll just wait and see whether he wants to go on with it if he loses tonight. There's been just a little bit of a quiet whisper around that he may not look to go next year if he loses tonight, given his other commitments and how big the job is. So a lot happening. There's a lot of consequence coming out of tonight's result.
And I guess the other thing about that is, with those Queensland coaches, it kind of depends also what happens up at the Titans. If Kevy goes into that Titans role and he's out of the Origin role, and
well, look,
Josh
we don't
Hannay
know.
maybe.
Well, Hannay's there as an assistant coach now with the Maroons, so he would likely be unavailable next year. And if he's unavailable, would Billy want to go on next year? We wait and see. Yeah, a lot to happen there, but that's rugby league. There's a lot to a lot of tentacles on that one.
What do you give Laurie so far?
I think Laurie's done a magnificent job. Like it's hard to find anything Laurie's done so far wrong, but the same with Billy. To be fair, I think the performance of Queensland in game one was more about Queensland. I don't think it didn't appear that they were emotionally sort of ready to start the game at the same intensity of New South Wales. They got caught on the back foot. But as I've said, and I don't want to keep going down this road, but the lopsided penalty counts in both games had a direct impact on both games. Game one, Queensland had a big run with the penalties. Game two, Queensland had a big run with the penalties. Game one, New South Wales did. It was just it impacted both games.
So what happens tonight?
I think the penalty count will be low and close. Okay, yeah, I think it'll be a 4-5, 5-3, something like that. It'll be a low penalty count. Won't be a lot of penalties. I think both teams will really get away with a lot tonight. If I was coaching either side, I think given what's the criticism out of the referee in both games, we'll really have him on guard about repeating that performance.
Yeah.
So where in Origin there's a lot of behind the room sort of tactical play about getting the advantage in the speed of the play of the ball, getting advantage in the wrestle, getting all that little stuff. Now, New South Wales were undisciplined in game two. They deserved many of the penalties they got against them. But the counter argument is that Queensland didn't get penalised for things that they could have. But I think tonight both sides will really push the line with the understanding that the referee of how much pressure he's under not to blow penalties. And if they do that, you can really get away with a lot tonight. You can really go a long way towards setting up a win.
Well, it'll be interesting because it's a packed stadium tonight. Sold out at the start of actually last week.
Yeah, it always is, though. It's never not sold out. Now, I know they come out and make a big hullabaloo about, we've sold out. Like, did they seriously believe it won't be sold out? like Queensland and New South Wales games are always sold out. I get it if they promote a sellout in Perth. But come on, to try and use it as an opportunity to say, look how well we're going. Look, they could sell it twice over, to be fair.
So New South Wales have only won the game 3 decider at a call twice. And that's a concern. There's been 5 game 3 deciders at a call. New South Wales have only won twice. And more tellingly, there was, I think 2004 and 2019 were the 2 years. Thanks to StatMate for those
StatMate provided the stats. Yeah, they that's been the years. But the sad thing is for New South Wales' point of view, is Queensland have won the last 3 deciders there, against the Blues. The other thing that I think is really telling what Warren is in the history of a core stadium, when it first opened, it was a real graveyard for Queensland. I think New South Wales, the first 11 games that were played there in Origin, 10 wins for New South Wales and a draw.
Yep.
Okay. And
Queensland won in 2007 and then...
Yeah, and then so obviously, and now Queensland went through that golden era, obviously. But the other part, so after going 10 wins, 1 draw in the first 11. In the next 21 games, it's 11 games to 11 games to Queensland, 10 games to New South Wales. Queensland, in the last 21 games played at a core stadium, Queensland have a winning record. So that's not something that, that this whole idea that New South Wales have got some advantage playing at home, is just not quite there at the moment. Like New South Wales have got to start putting some wins together to sort of reclaim that home ground advantage. And we've seen, I suppose the fact that New South Wales won at Suncorp Stadium at the opening of this year has shown that a lot of this is getting put on its head. But the advantage that they believe they're getting by playing at home can't be counted on.
6 again.
Nearly game time? Try PointsBet's new 5 for 25. Answer 5 questions, get $25 odds. The fast and easy way to bet on State of Origin. PointsBet, built different. What are you really gambling with?
Okay, this segment is brought to you by PointsBet, built different. Kenty, let's have a quick look at the head-to-head now. New South Wales, $1.40 and Queensland, $3.
Yeah, far too short. Queensland has value there. Like, look, Jack Gibson years and years and years ago, when he was, and let's remember, Jack was a former SP bookmaker.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so Jack made his fortune not as a rugby league coach. Jack made his fortune as an illegal SP bookmaker.
Kenty, for our younger viewers, can you just tell us quickly about SP bookmakers?
Well, SP bookmakers, essentially, they're illegal bookmakers, okay? So right now you need to hold a license to be a bookmaker. Mm-hmm. So for your PointsBet or your bookies that are on course or whatever, they need to have a license, government approval, government sort of like watching over everything that happens to make sure it's all above board. The old days, SP bookmakers were essentially guys operating out of a pub. They give you 3 to 1 on this or 2 to 1 on that or whatever, and they just take the money for themselves, no taxes, all the rest of it. So, Sydney was thriving with it back in the day, and Jack was one of them. Jack had organised crime links. Okay, he was an SP bookmaker who worked in close collaboration with George Freeman, who was one of the probably the biggest SP bookmaker in Australia at the time. So Jack made his money out of that. Jack was it began with him
before he was coaching or during?
During he was coaching.
Wow.
Yeah. Look, it was a secret within the game. Yeah, okay. So Jack started out when he was playing football back for East and West back in the 60s. He was actually also his day job, for want of a better term, was actually a night job where he was a bouncer at Tom O's 2-up school.
Wow.
So that's where Jack came from. And then he graduated from there. He got into the SP bookmaking. So Jack, one thing he did understand was odds. Okay. He understood about the margin and how things, you could make it work for you. And he said it. He told me, but he told everybody. So I'm not claiming this as my own. But he said he always used to say, "You never go back in Queensland. Never go broke back in Queensland."
Yeah,
so,
right.
He spoke about that. And look, again, they're $3 tonight. They shouldn't be $3 tonight. They're a $2.20 chance against a $1.80 chance. New South Wales are far too short, given what we've already seen in the series so far. Like we believe when you look at it on paper, New South Wales have the superior side. We've spoken about the risks that Billy Slater has taken with the Queensland side, some of the rookies in there and the Papali'i comeback. But the fact is it's an Origin game, and I cannot tell you, Warren, how many times I've been down this road, for anyone that's been around the game for 20-odd years or 30 years or 40 years, is that you go there and Queensland got no right to win the game and go out and win the game. So certainly from that point of view, I think that odds-wise, I think Queensland are a terrific bet tonight.
And what about try scorer?
Well, look,
Zach?
Zach Lomax is he's. This is the other unusual thing about Origin. Generally, it's very few and far between Origin tries. Zach Lomax has played 5 games and he's scored, I think, in every game. He scored a couple of doubles in those games. You look at Brian To'o. Brian To'o, and this is a StatMate stat. Brian To'o has scored 2 tries in both games this series. Okay, in 2 tries in each game. You look at Tabuai Fidow. The last 2 games he's played at a core stadium for Queensland. He scored 4 tries.
Yeah, wow.
So purely from a mathematical point of view, they're all good bets for people because mathematically they are consistently hitting the mark, and that's where you want to get with it all, right? You want to turn the odds in your favour. So all those guys are tremendous odds. You put New South Wales, I'll put Queensland plus 8.5, which I think it'll be a close game tonight. Queensland plus 8.5 into a Tabuai Fidow try, a To'o try. It's paying $5.33 at PointsBet. So you know what I mean. But I look. I'm surprised that I'm seeing how regular the same guys are scoring these tries. It's an interesting, I suppose, facet of where the game's at the moment.
Kenty, I want you to do something a little different here. I want to build the perfect Origin team with tonight's players.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go through both teams, and you tell me which player from each team. I know they're very different players, and they have very different needs. But let's start in the halves. Cleary or Dearden?
Oh, you got to go Cleary.
Yep.
Yeah, Cleary's your guy. And it's got to be interesting tonight. A lot of pressure on him to come out and produce that performance that we're all waiting for.
Luai Munster?
Personally, I'm not waiting for the performance.
Yeah.
I think he's already achieved it all, Nathan. I'd go Munster there. Munster's just an animal. Yeah. And the big game from him tonight. Like, a lot of people are talking about, and I heard a couple of questions. I didn't like this, was about his motivation and the fact his father died. New South Wales have handled it with a lot of class. They've just acknowledged that families, it's beyond a football game. As for Munster himself, I'm not going to predict anything or anything like that, but also it would be impossible to separate what's happened. Tonight's the death of his father on Sunday against tonight's game, both are highly, highly emotional. Now, certainly one's more important and more emotional, okay, but I don't think he'll be able to separate the thoughts of either. Like it just all comes into one, and he's one guy who mentally will handle it. So, look, we all wish him the best. He's a terrific guy. I never knew his father, but obviously in any circumstance like this, it's tragic news, and that's the true intention of the word too. It's tragic news to lose your father like that. So we just wish him the best. He is a wonderful player. I just think when he melts it all down and puts on that jersey, he'll come out tonight and it'll just be all there for everybody. And look, I wish him all the best, and I'm sure we'll see his best.
I think this is a bit of an easy one. Crichton Latrell versus Toya and
you got to go New South Wales guys there. So the New South Wales guys are in front there.
Fullback, Hammer and Edwards.
Well, I think Edwards, they played very different roles.
Yeah.
Okay, Edwards is busy around the ruck. He's a great supporter, but he also is safe at the back, and he gets you off to a great start for your sets. He's got a very good, quick play the ball, which can help get your momentum off kick returns. Whereas the Hammer, he just basically, he's just got blistering speed. He's dangerous wherever he is. He can get the ball on a kick return and take it 60, 70 metres. He just, his threat will be, I would say, will be sort of wider on the park than what Edwards is. Edwards, his threat will come through the middle when he trails the forwards and the halves and looks for little short offloads through there. So, depends what you want in your football team. We'd probably go with Edwards at the moment, though.
What about wingers? To'o and Lomax versus Coates and Holmes?
Well, certainly in the way they've been performing, that's very close. But the way that To'o and Lomax are scoring tries, I think, again, you've got to go that way.
Will Lomax kick tonight?
Lomax is going to kick. Cleary won't be kicking, which is, again, a little bit of a concern that he's not kicking because he would be first-choice kicker. But Lomax kicks tonight.
What do you think about the Queensland wingers, Coates and Holmes?
Oh, yeah, tremendous. Yeah, they are. They're good players. And look, they play a little bit of silly buggers with all this because they've been swapping wings. I think they're trying to get Coates up against To'o to take his wing advantage. But we've seen them all swap around, and essentially to try and just see which combination works against the other, against their opponents. So. I don't know what Queensland will run out with tonight because, Holmes is not a natural winger, but he swaps around. He's played on both wings at different times, so we'll wait and see.
What about, I think this is an interesting one, Papali'i, Max King. Max King under a little bit of pressure under game two.
Yeah, he's under pressure, but I think if you're going to pick a player for your Origin team, you go Papali'i.
Yep. What about on the other side? Haas, Tino.
You got to go, well, what about that? Two monsters.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, look, you don't go wrong with either one. I think that's one of those things where if you asked either state which one they want, they'd stick with the one they've got.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So
yes.
I don't think Queensland would swap Tino for Haas, and New South Wales wouldn't either.
Yep. What about Reece Robson and Harry Grant?
Harry Grant. Yeah.
Okay.
Harry Grant.
Yep. Back row, Liam Martin, Reuben Cotter, Angus Crichton, Capewell.
I like the New South Wales back rows.
Okay.
There. Yeah, they're little bit more size and a little bit. Liam Martin's just a mad dog. I love the way he plays.
Yeah. Angus Crichton's a Wally Lewis medalist from last year.
Yeah, Angus Crichton. He's just Angus Crichton in a really nice way. He's got a real bit of bully about him now when he plays.
He's a hard bastard.
Very aggressive, and really makes it his job to get over the opposition and whoever's in front of him. He doesn't mind throwing his weight around, which it's always nice having your side.
I saw him out recently, and he's got the gold teeth, the rapper's teeth. He looks like a hard bastard. Yeah. Rightio, and at the back of the scrum, Isaiah Yeo and Liero.
Yeah, Isaiah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
that's not an easy one, but it's a clear one, I think.
Bench, who's in front? Watson, Spencer, Hudson Young, Stefano for New South Wales, and then Kurt Mann, Lindsay Collins, Patrick Carrigan, and Nanai.
I think Queensland got a slightly better bench.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, so I like their bench, and that plays a far more important role often in the game than people give credit to, because when you make those first changes, particularly through the middles in the game, you've got to try and strike get someone who can come on and give you a pickup in momentum and energy and things like that. So that's really important, and it's underplayed a little bit how important that is. I will say Connor Watson, he's probably the real true 14 that comes on, where he comes on and particularly in Origin, the big forwards can get found wanting because it's so difficult to just the aerobic workload that you're asked to do, a lot of them get gassed very quickly, much quicker than they do in NRL games. So when you bring on a guy like Watson, true 14, he can have an enormous impact. You still talk to the old Queenslanders, and I think he was probably underappreciated for this, but they still talk about the impact that Craig Wing would have when he would come on as the best. It was the last thing they wanted to see. They would much rather see a big loping front rower come on with no footwork. But when Craig Wing would come on, they'd all hit the panic stations a little bit because they just knew how good he was on his feet. They were already so fatigued that it was very hard to defend against him. So Connor Watson will look to play that role tonight.
I once played a Golden Oldies game with Craig Wing, and after the game, came off, had a shower, and then put moisturiser on his face. I've never seen it before. That's why he looks $1 million. Mate,
that's why he looks like he doesn't.
Yeah, exactly.
You look
like a bash crab. Mate, let's finish off with some score predictions. Who you got?
Look, I think it'll be close. I don't think it'll be a blowout. I think it'll be a low scoring game. I think it'll be like 18-16 or 18-14.
Is that a result of the penalty count, you think?
I just think, and I think given it's a game 3 decider, both sides will really knuckle down defensively. That'll be there. I know it's always a priority, but I just think that's just going to be forefront of their minds the whole time. They're just defend, and out of that we don't get a lot of points scored.
And give me a Wally Lewis medalist.
Munster.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, even though,
Even though they're going to lose.
Yeah, I just think he's up for a game. I hope he is too. I really.
Yeah.
I'm really riding him home tonight. I really want him. I want him to write this glittering chapter in Origin folklore. I really hope he has a magnificent game.
Very good. Well, tonight is the decider. Kenty, I just want to say something about tomorrow.
Yep.
Because we've got your mate Ben Eichen on tomorrow.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
So he's going to be
he's
doing the Origin wrap tomorrow with Kenty. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do an Ask Eichen down the bottom. And we're going to throw that to Eichen tomorrow.
Oh,
I don't know if you know that's coming yet.
No, I didn't know about that, but you know what? It's going to be very interesting because it'll be a vastly different mood depending on what happens tonight.
Yeah. Anyway, so leave your comments down there. Ask Eichen, Ben Eichen tomorrow night. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the night. Go on the Blues.